Shh.
Hello, my name is Hannah and I'm a librarian at Amarillo College. In this video, I will show you how to evaluate sources. Have you heard about the deadly dihydrogen monoxide? All serial killers have admitted to using it. Cancer tumors contain a large fraction of it and 100% of people exposed to this substance will die. Terrifying, right? Why? It's just water. This infographic is all true information, but we need to think critically when we're evaluating sources and not get caught up in bias. How do I evaluate sources? Draw your own conclusions using the DRAW method. Look at the domain, reason, author, and when the source was written. Domain. The domain is where an online resource can be stored. .com is commercial, .org is an organization, .edu is an educational institution, .gov from the government, .mil from the military. The most trusted of these domains is .edu, .gov, and .mil. This step is helpful when it comes to articles from Google or other online sources, but when it comes to looking at the library databases, domain won't be very helpful. You will need to read the article and use the rest of the steps for evaluation with database articles. Reason. Ask yourself these questions as you read. With the publication, who published it? Who pays to produce this publication and who sponsors it? Who's the audience? What about the opposition? Does the author recognize a viewpoint that opposes his or her own? If so, what is it? Is the viewpoint presented objectively or emotionally? What language do they use? Does the author present his argument with extreme language? Does he write to appeal to emotions? Does the author use value-laden terms that lend a negative impression, as in illegal aliens versus undocumented workers? The author. Sometimes we're not really sure who the author is. He's just a name at the top of the article. So we need to ask ourselves, who wrote it? Is it an individual or an institution? What are their qualifications for writing this subject? What is their stake in making this argument? In other words, why do they care? For example, the president of the Plastic Bag Manufacturers Association of America may be very knowledgeable about plastic bags, but his argument against citywide plastic bag bans would be biased because he has a stake in protecting the plastic bag manufacturing industry. When? Look at that publication date. When was the article published? When was the information, the numbers and statistics that are being reported on collected? Do the facts and figures relay the most current studies? Articles can also have bias toward a specific side of an issue. According to the Cambridge English Dictionary, bias is an unfair personal opinion that influences your judgment. For example, the judge withheld the information on the grounds that it would bias the jury. How do I identify bias? Evaluate the article by asking, what facts has the author let out? What additional information is needed for a complete picture of the issue? What words create positive or negative impressions? What impression would I have if different words had been used? Biased information tries to change your mind, how you think. Not only can the body text of an article be biased, but also the choice of photo, caption, or camera angle can tell the reader what the source wants you to think and feel about a person or event. Photos can flatter or unflatter a person. The strategic use of a flattering photo may make you trust a political candidate. On television, the visual images chosen to display a situation can influence the viewer. Is the young man suspected for committing a crime depicted as an image where he is clean cut? The captions newspapers run below the image as well as the captions that run under news stories on television can promote bias. An image of a politician yawning can be captioned to be perceived as disrespectful or as being exhausted from hard work. How we identify people can denote bias as well. Ask yourself, how are the people, places, and events being described? A person could be called an ex-con, or described as someone who served 2 months for a bounce check 20 years ago. The numbers can be skewed as well. Statistics can be reported in a way to make something more or less significant, inflating or minimizing numbers. For example, a plane crash can be described as hundreds injured or only minor injuries occurred. Both statements may be true, but each statement makes the reader feel either fear or relief. This article looks trustworthy, but how do I know it comes from trustworthy sources? Choose wisely. Sites and sources to avoid include Wikipedia, About.com, eHow, or any source written for the general public. Any source without references, a publication date, or an author listed. Any source whose author is not an expert on the subject. Sites and sources to use include Google Advanced or any source for professionals, Google Scholar. Any source that provides references, a publication date, and an author. Any source whose author is an expert on the topic. Remember, when you encounter news stories, be information literate. Recognize when information is needed and have the ability to locate, evaluate, and effectively use information.